Hi guys, this is Black Prism, and in this video I'm gonna show you how to make a chill trap track. I'm going to focus on the structure and on the individual elements that make up the track, and I'm gonna explain my thought process through each and every one of them. For reference, I'm going to use the Never Forget You remix that I made, so let's hear that first. The drop is made of two main sections, part A of the drop and part B of the drop. The parts have significant change between them. It can be the lead and it can be the rhythm, or it can be something else. Each part also consists of two different sections that also have a change between them, although it's less significant than part A and part B of the drop. In the case of this track, the difference between part A of the drop and part B of the drop is the lead and the melody. And the difference between the sections of part A of the drop is that the second part is more complicated. It has more elements in it, like the hi-hats and the arpeggio. In part B of the drop, it's the exact opposite. The second part has less elements than the first parts. It's missing the drums and the bass. Now I want to talk about the elements that make up the drop. The drop consists of an 808, chords, lead, hi-hats, an arp, and a drum beat. I added annotations on the screen so you can skip to the element that you want to see. Before we look into every element of the song, I wanna mention that the typical BPM for a track like this is between 130 and 160 BPM. Let's start by analyzing the drums. First, let's hear the drum beat by itself. The drum beat consists of a kick and a snare. You wanna use typical trap drum and snare samples. They gotta be short and snappy. Also, the beat itself gotta be in half time. That means instead of hitting every beat, it hits every second beat. This allows to make finer details in the beat and make lots of variations. Now for the mixing part of the drums. The kick has an EQ on it. I boost the bass, for obvious reasons, and I boost the high mids to make the kick snappier and give it more emphasis. The snare consists of two different snares actually. One more percussive and one with more body, essentially the transient. On the first snare I have some EQ and I boost the highs, and I also have some reverb on it. On the second snare I also have an EQ on it, and I boost the highs, and the mids where the transient is. I also have compression on it and some reverb as well. I use lots of EQ and compression so that the drums really stand out. In trap, drums play a really big role, so you wanna make sure that people really notice them. Now let's analyze the chords. Let's hear them by themselves first. A chord progression can really make or break a track. The chords essentially give the track its mood. In chill trap, a good sound for the chords can be a piano, or a synth that sounds sorta like keys, like in this track, or you can use a pad. In a drop, the main purpose of the chords is to fill up the mid-range of the spectrum. You wanna make sure they don't overcome the lead and the drums, so when mixing them, you wanna EQ them and sidechain them pretty hard. When EQing the chords, you wanna emphasize the mids and cut a bit of the highs. This is so it doesn't interfere with the lead, but still have presence in the drop. Since there's no bass, you wanna leave those bass frequencies in the chords, but you still wanna high pass it so it doesn't clash with the 808. Also I put very slight reverb on them with very slight decay, so that it gives them a more roomy sound. Also you wanna moderately sidechain the chords to the kick and snare, so the drum beat really sticks out. Let's hear the lead by itself. The lead is the main part of the drop, and it's essentially what gives your song its identity. In chill trap you obviously wanna make a chill melody, something that will be very pleasant to the ear. Make a sound that will fill up the high range of the spectrum. In the EQ you wanna high pass the sound, so it doesn't clash with the chords and the bass. Also boost the highs a little bit, so it will stand out more, and also put quite a bit of reverb. The next part is the 808. Let's hear how it sounds. You want the 808 to follow the chord progression, and in the same time have the same rhythm as the kick. Make sure to use a relatively clean 808 sample. This one has quite a bit of effects. First, we're going to use some distortion and saturation on the sound. For the distortion part, we're going to add a wave shaper and change it like this. This is going to add some overtones to the sound. Next one is saturation. I'm going to add Maximus and use its saturation feature. You wanna raise the gain quite a bit and then cut it quite hard with the saturation. This is going to add a lot of overtones. Now to make it fatter, we're going to add sausage fattener. I know it's quite a lazy plugin, but I really like it on my 808s. Last one is EQ. I'm going to cut the highs by low passing it. Also I'm going to tone down the distortion by lowering the overtones a little bit. Also I'm going to sidechain the 808 to the kick. You wanna sidechain it really hard, so the 808 and the kick don't clash in any way. Now let's analyze the arpeggio. You really want the arpeggio to just be in the background. Its purpose is to fill empty space and just enhance the chord progression. When mixing the arp, you wanna apply a quite harsh EQ, since you don't want it to clash with any of the other sounds. You can also add some reverb and delay to make it more ambient. The next element is the hi-hats. The hi-hat's main purpose is to fill up empty space and add noise. Although in trap, hi-hats serve a pretty big role and are pretty much a staple in every trap song. Make a sequence that hits every 2 steps, and occasionally fill the space in between them to make hi-hat rolls. The only effect I have on the hi-hats is EQ. In the EQ I high-passed the hi-hats and boosted a small section of the high frequencies. The rest of the elements are fills, so I'm going to include all of them together. A fill's main purpose is to lead from one part of the song to another, also to create some variance. The first fill I have is this slide snare kind of thing. Another fill are snare rolls. To create snare rolls, you need a really short snare sample and create patterns when you play them really fast. You can have a lot of variance on the kind of snare rolls. Also, one tip is to play with the velocity and the pitch of the snare to give it a more dynamic feel. Last one is the reverse crash. You basically take a crash sample and reverse it. This creates a riser and it's really good at leading one part to another. These are pretty much all the elements in the drop. It's nothing too complicated, and in some sort of way this is the beauty of this genre. That's pretty much it. I hope that you learned something new in this video. If you have any comments or suggestions, please leave them in the comments. Thanks for watching.